Welcome to the Performance Collective, where I bring together experts across the running, fitness, and human performance space to share insights, experiences, and practical strategies for improving performance. Hosted by me, Hannah Witt, a USCA certified running coach and athlete success and operations manager. This podcast features conversations with elite athletes, coaches, nutritionists, chiropractors, race directors, and industry leaders. Whether you're chasing a personal best, returning from injury, or looking to better understand the science behind training and recovery, the Performance Collective offers actionable insights to help you train smarter and perform at your best. In today's episode, I'm joined by Daniel Hamilton, who we've had on the show before, but we're always glad to welcome back. He's an ultra runner, mental health counselor, veteran, and one of the smartest minds I know when it comes to technical trail racing and ultramarathon performance. We dive deep into what actually matters when training for ultras, how to run technical terrain efficiently, why cadence and foot placement matter more than pace, how to train on tired legs without destroying yourself, and why most runners are approaching long run training the wrong way. Daniel also shares lessons from his own racing career, including wins at races like Stump Jump and the Mount Mitchell Challenge, his unconventional fueling strategy after dealing with severe blood sugar issues, and the mindset shifts that help athletes stay mentally strong during long races. This conversation is packed with practical advice for trail runners and ultra athletes, especially if you want to become more durable, more efficient on technical terrain, and more confident racing in the mountains. Buckle up. Hey, welcome back to the show. Today we have Daniel Hamilton, and he's actually been a guest on the Maximum Mileage Running podcast before, so really excited to speak with him again. Today, we're going to discuss a whole bunch of stuff, but mainly I'd like to pick his brain about training for ultramarathon distances and basically what not to do. He's an athlete. He's done ultra distances, had amazing success. A little bit more about Daniel. We go back to my college days, to our college days at King College, now King University in Bristol, Tennessee. He was in the Army. What were you in the Army or military? What specific branch were you in, Daniel?
I was a warrant officer in Army Aviation.
Nice. I don't want to misquote anything because that's important. But yeah, you've been an athlete, I think, for North Face. You've done amazing races, and now you're a mental health counselor for largely for veterans, but anybody who's going through stuff, which we all are, so we could all definitely use your help. But newest accolade to add to your hat is you are our mental health performance professional here on the Maximum Mileage team. So really excited to have you on board in that capacity.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to be on again. You're very first off, your episode before, I think that one was one of our most popular ones. And I think everybody realizes that you're a straight shooter and you don't mess around. Like, you're very honest. And I think people appreciated your vulnerability in your story about being a veteran and what you're dealing with mentally in your relationship with running and how it's changed. And yeah, people really, I think, like that a lot. So let's definitely continue with that authenticity for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've had experience with the ultra marathon distance and you had really great results. What would you say? Well, first off, how did you get into ultra marathon racing?
So I went to high school in the Smoky Mountains in Franklin, North Carolina. And Franklin's an interesting place because it's it's a working class area of Highlands, North Carolina. Highlands is a really affluent area, like in the middle of the mountains. And Franklin is kind of down off the mountain. It's still in the mountains, but there's more reasonable trail systems, but still not. If you're like running high school track or cross country, you're not on trails. You're running on the roads because the roads are as extreme as most people's trails.
Wow.
Um, so I trained a lot on the roads in the mountains, and I would kind of be seen around town running. And I played a lot of soccer. Um, and coaches kind of passed me off to each other, and I landed on an adventure race team. So Special Operations has a big adventure race, or at least they did in Highlands, North Carolina. And I joined it with one of my teachers and her husband, um, and did uh, we did adventure races, and we started doing quite a few adventure races. And are you familiar with adventure racing?
To an extent, but for our audience and for me personally too, yeah, just explain what those are and how they're alike and similar, I guess, to your run of the mill ultra run racing.
Yeah. So it's more of like a European thing. Uh, Actually, Discovery Channel had a few big ones, and there's something in Scandinavia called island hopping where people will actually run across islands and swim to the next one.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, and our version of that was adventure racing. They you can do them anywhere from 1 day to 5 days. Um, and there's navigation portions. There's mountain biking uh tethered together. So like your stronger mountain bikers will pull the weaker mountain bikers like up the mountain. There's running tethered, and canoeing. And you're given waypoints and you got to collect waypoints. Okay. So you have like pieces of paper, you get to the waypoint and you have a punch, and you punch the card, and whoever gets done first wins.
That's wild. Canoeing. I love that. It's just thrown in there kind of randomly, but that's
Because
amazing.
you got to get to places that are in the middle of the lake sometimes.
That's so cool.
So you'll be running through the woods. Oh, there's rappelling too.
Nice.
Yeah. So you'll be running through the woods and come out into a clearing, and your mountain bikes will be there. And it's like, oh, it's a mountain bike portion. You get another or you get, um, I'm sorry, at the beginning of the race, you get all your coordinates. Okay.
Mhm.
You go through and you plan your route, and then you go.
So
And
do you plan before the gun goes off, or is that's counted part of your race time?
part of your race time.
Oh wow.
So it's kind of a mind game. You can either rush it and just go find waypoints, or you can sit and plan. It's a military exercise put into a race.
What
Um,
what was your how did you go about it? Did you sit and plan, or did you just kind of go for it?
yeah. So our team captain, there was three of us, right? Her husband was a Marine Corps guy. There was me. I was in like middle school and high school, and then my teacher was um, she was a history teacher. Uh, and so we would sit and plan. She would plan our route, do all the navigation, and then I was the climber. So like anytime we got to a mountain, they would both tether to me, and I'd pull them up the mountain.
Oh wow.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay. I say all this to say that at these races, we kept meeting a guy named Jay Kerwin. Okay, he's like a big deal in the triathlon community. He was a world class triathlete. And he was like high up in Nantahala Outdoor Center. He was the race director for Mount Mitchell Challenge. Um, if it's in the adventure race or ultra running community, like he's been a part of it. Okay, and I started getting destroyed by him when I was a little kid. First guy that ever absolutely destroyed me in a race in spandex, like I'm like in running shorts or whatever, and he's in like a tri suit. And we'd be doing like a 5K, and he'd get off the bike after a workout and then smoke the 5K, you know?
Mhm.
And I kind of started following him around trail running. And he got me really interested in trail running. Um, and so I started training more on trail than on the road. And I got used to really technical trail, but I didn't necessarily have a coach. So I figured things out on my own. Um, and I got in trouble in high school for trail running when, you're trying to break 4:30 in the mile this weekend and you're out like pushing your ankle on a trail.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I would think that they would get upset about, like coaches, like you hurting yourself on a trail. But I mean, trail running, that's so good for like foot speed development. It
Yeah, and
translates
that's all
to,
I had. Like I have the inseam of someone that's like 5'6", and I'm 5'9". So all I've got is foot speed. You can probably see it in most of my like workouts. Like,
your
uh,
cadence is high. Yeah. So for people who don't know, Daniel's an athlete of mine, and I can see all his stuff on Training Peaks, and you have like a wicked high cadence because your turnover is very quick.
yeah, on the bike, a lot of climbers' cadence was in the 105 to 110 range. On the bike up the mountain, I'm at 130.
That's I'm like trying to maintain 90 RPM, and you're doing that. I can't even like
Yeah,
that neuromuscular, like that quickness. That's
yeah,
really quick.
yeah. But I was also running like in high school. I ran like 51 in the 400.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like I've just always been able to ask for a lot of power really quickly. So trail running kind of like running on the road, I stress out really bad mentally, if that
Why?
makes sense.
Why?
Because I feel like optimizing like I'm not optimizing my cadence. Something feels wrong when I'm on the road.
I
Now,
can relate to that. I
yeah,
Because I run on soft surfaces so much and gravel and everything else. And when I'm on the road, it's like my feet don't really have anything to grip and like almost push off from. And it's just like I don't know what to do with this smooth road, and I like end up messing up my toes and stuff. I don't know. It's just really odd, but I can relate, obviously, but in a similar context.
yeah, yeah. So I seeked out trail at a really young age. It's the only place that I could reach flow state. Have you heard of that term?
Oh yeah.
Um, and uh, so I would train really hard on trail, and then kind of got into more of the classic running. Getting good in middle school, getting scooped up by coaches. More 400 repeats on the track. But my problem was I could always fake a 400 on the track easy, but putting laps together was a little harder for me.
Do you think
But
part of it's like biomechanics? Like you just kind of need that always different kind of stimulus, and if your biomechanics are like in this unilateral, like things just kind of fall apart.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can.
And so I've always thrived on the most technical trails possible, and so I seek them out. And that's how I got into trail running. It was a mental thing.
Awesome. And so that was basically an offshoot of the adventure racing that you did earlier on, right?
Yep, yep. So adventure racing got me into trail running. Um, and then I started trail running on my own. And then every summer during college, I would go back to NOC, which is right in that little mountain area. Like NOC Nantahala Outdoor Center is only like 12, 13 miles from Franklin, but it's an hour drive.
As the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I could run to Franklin on trails quicker than, people could drive to Franklin.
That's great.
Um yeah. And and so every summer I'd go back to NOC, and you can live there if you're staff. I would live there and I would trail run. And to get out of the Nantahala Gorge from the river, to any trail system, you climb 1,000 feet. Yeah. So I was doing that every day. And I didn't have a car.
I remember in college, you'd be like, yeah, I had to go to like post office. And I just ran there and and then you would just like, because you didn't have a car, you would do errands and just run, and that'd be the way you got there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One time in the tap out phase of UFC, I ran 18 miles to my boss's house to watch a UFC fight.
So funny.
Like in the mountains. So I was
Just
doing that every summer.
that's great, like base training. Did you ever feel like you got burnt out, or did you feel like you were thriving in
Every season,
every season?
every cross country season, I would come in burnout. But I love trail.
Yeah. So
Um,
a little bit more about Franklin, North Carolina. You said that I guess in cross country in high school, track and field, you were running on the roads, but running on the roads there is like running on trails. And if you were on trails, it'd be very, very technical. When you say that, I'm trying to like remember where, we went there for camp, but is it like a lot of gravel roads, like going over mountains, or is it still paved? It just kind of rough?
it depends. So you've got a lot of different kinds of trails. You've got hiking trails. The Appalachian Trail. Like if you showed me a picture of a trail, like just straight down at the trail, I could tell you where it was based off of the root systems and how worn out it is.
Yeah.
So you've got Solly, which we ran to. It's a very famous mountain biking area. Okay. When you get like mountain bikers in there, the trails tend to be very worn out. Pretty wide, and they'll have a V notch in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of the tires, obviously, right? But they're going to be more flowy. So like at the Solly, on those Solly trails, because there's not a lot of roots and stuff, I went like 3:55 for 50K.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My goal is to like break 4 hours for 50K. No, 3:51. 3:51 for 50K. Because they're like flowy, they cater to mountain bikers. Okay. So you've got trails like that cater to mountain bikers. You've got the Appalachian Trail, which is going to be lots of switchbacks, lots of roots, like trees growing like on the side of the mountain with massive roots coming down. Those are a scramble, right? And then you've got stuff like we used to run on the Creeper Trail. That's still considered a trail. It's an old railroad bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got, I'm starting to sound like the guy in Forrest Gump talking about shrimp, but
different kinds of rain or different kinds of shrimp or
exactly. So you've got like all different kinds of trail systems. And so something I started adopting early on, and it's really easy in Chattanooga, where we'll get to eventually. When I was pro, I lived in Chattanooga. You can get a workout, but you can make the workout like optimal, picking a trail that's good for it. So if you've got a hard fartlek, go to a really technical trail. If you've got a tempo run, do it on a mountain bike trail.
That makes sense because it's more flowing and not starting and stopping so much for technicality.
Exactly. Practice hiking, like sometimes going uphill walking is faster than running. A lot that's lost on runners a lot. So pick trails based on your workouts.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. So when I think about, because the Appalachian Trail passes through where I live too, and that's where I've fallen probably the most, just because like they're rough. It's really, really rough, but also there's so many little stairs, like rock stairs climbing up, and if you're descending on those stairs for any appreciable amount of time, that is a quad burner. Like, I would say that's probably the toughest trail. But then I think about bike trails that I've run on too, because where I'm at, that's Lee's McRae. And you know Lee's McRae. You've probably run on the bike trails here before, right? Behind the college.
Yes, yeah. I've also been to Moses Cone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say Moses Cone is definitely more similar to like a Virginia Creeper Trail experience, but the cycling trails behind Lee's McRae, yeah, like if it hasn't rained for a while and it's very much like you said, like a V. And for somebody whose running style is kind of like they tend to put one foot in front of the other, like very like streamlined, like that's very conducive to that. But for people who are like very much like if you're like running down a road and your feet are like on either side of the solid line, like that's tough. But yeah, do you feel like you excel at a particular type of trail, or is it like you said, it's basically whatever workout you're doing, like pick your poison, that's going to be what you're good at that day?
You have to be good at everything. I liken it to if you watch motocross ever. There's certain areas in motocross where guys can only go through a technical section so fast, or they'll get thrown off their bike. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're coming up to a technical section, you have to have run technical trails in order to kind of pick your line really quickly, because the entire field is going to be running the same pace through that area. Fitness is only going to come out when you hit a road between trails, or you're on a mountain bike trail.
I relate to that a lot when you say you have to pick your line, like just from being on cycling trails a lot, you have to like be really quick in figuring out, where like foot placement and everything. And I would say, since this episode is largely about what not to do, I guess, for ultra training, you've really got to get on trails and know what kind of trail you're going to be on. B, practice on a similar type of trail as much as you can, because those little things like trying to quickly determine foot placement, I mean, you don't have time unless you're walking or whatever. But if you want to do a trail ultra run or ultra marathon quickly, you've really got to have that like instinctual where to place your feet on whatever kind of trail surface it is.
Yeah, one of the first big races that I won was stump jump 50K. And I fell probably 6 times.
Wow. Like, do you remember what you fell over? Was it like tree roots, rocks?
It's all for me, it's always roots. Because I have that fast turnover. And as I get tired, the front of my foot starts to drop a little bit. And so I catch my toe as I'm coming back over. You got to know stuff like that about yourself. What happens when I'm tired?
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially too, if you're like a hip flexor dominant runner where you're lifting your leg a lot. Like obviously, if you're doing that for 50K or more, your hip flexors are going to be toast, and so you really have to develop like your foot strength as well.
Yeah, and cramps always start furthest from your core. And so your ankles and shins are going to be what start cramping first, and that manipulates kind of what your foot does.
Interesting. I didn't know that about cramps.
Yeah. Like if you start hitting electrolyte imbalance, you start getting little spot cramps in like your feet and your ankles. At least that's my experience. And that starts causing you to fall.
When you talk about that and you couple that with the different kinds of trail surfaces, I think about footwear, and I think about like maximal shoes and things like that are becoming popular with trails. Like, I
don't like them.
You don't like them? Yeah, we talked before. You like
not for racing. I like innovate like TerraClaw. I would rather my feet hurt than fall.
Yeah, because I can think, like, I can picture the like the foam underneath catching on everything once you start to get fatigued. You know, you've got
Yeah, it was always kind of like I when I was pro, so after like I did intermittent trail running through college, and anytime we came out to trails when we were in college, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like I can like relax again, you know?
Mhm.
Because I when I'm road running, my mind just wanders and it's never good.
Yeah, I know.
Uh so yeah, on trail I'm like I'm in it, I'm focused, I'm not thinking about anything else. And so once I went pro, I was training under Patrick Reagan. Have you ever heard of him?
I haven't.
He's a Hoka runner. He's won Javelin and Hundred like 5, 6 times now. Yeah, I can give you his info anyway. He'd be good on this. But he's from Savannah, Georgia, and he's way faster than like he's like a golly, I think he was like a sub 14 5K guy in college. But like um he was like a road guy. He can't I mean he's training in Savannah for ultras, right?
Mhm.
And so he's always giving me like mileage, but I'm doing it on like the side of a mountain at Signal Mountain in Chattanooga, right? So he always also used maximalist shoes because and I was like, dude, it just doesn't work for me. Like I just can't. I've got to feel the ground. Like I'm moving a lot of meat. Like for a distance guy, I've always been a little chunky, you know. And I need to be able to feel the ground. And so in those Hokas, I would just fall all over the place.
What year was that? Like when I guess when you tried out the Hokas, because they've changed a lot. I will say that like
Yeah.
earlier models, definitely the rocker was pretty extreme, and I know that different people that I talk to, they love them, or they're like, oh my gosh, my T band, everything just went out when I started wearing them.
20 or 2015, maybe 2016.
Okay.
Um, I had a pair of their, I cannot remember. They were like lime green. I liked them a lot, but they were pretty minimalist and they ended up not making them anymore. Um, I was always the Innovate. I liked Innovates a lot. And they're more of an English like fell running shoe.
Yeah, where I used to work at a shoe kind of boutique style running store in South Florida, we had Innovates, and a lot of, I don't know, a lot of people who lift a lot, they gravitated towards the Innovates, I guess, because they're like more minimalist, you feel the ground more and everything. So that makes sense. But yeah, I never ran in them, but I would definitely, if I was running really technical trails, definitely consider those.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so trail has always been kind of like a way for me to escape because I can't think about anything else when I'm running across the trail. Um, but one thing I did that a lot of my trail running buddies didn't do is I varied the trails I ran on a lot.
Clearly, because you just explain all those different types of trails. That's a good idea. But
If you think about it, races go across all different kinds of trails.
yeah.
You know, you got to be good at gravel roads, technical trails, and if you can, um, when I won Lookout 50, um, the first like 10 miles of it was downhill at the beginning,
Wow.
and so like you got to be good at downhills. You know,
Have you ever raced anywhere outside of the southeastern United States where we predominantly have like the roots and rocks and the climbs and everything like that?
I did JFK 50, um, and that's like all railroad grade kind of. I mean, I think I went through 50K at like 3 hours, 40 minutes. It was so fast. Like it was such a fast trail. But I ended up blowing up. Around mile 40. It was bad. I ended up in the hospital.
What happened? Was it
Um,
electrolytes or what happened?
uh, yeah, it's always been sugar, like a blood sugar issue with me. When I text you like, hey, that was terrible, I walked, it's always blood sugar. Like if I had, coffee with cream in it or
Mhm.
piece of candy, my day is like wrecked. Um,
What
so I've
has to,
always
let's talk about that. What does that feel like? Because I know that if I have sugar now, it's almost like I'll feel like I'm hungover the next day. Is that what you feel like, or does your like pulse really fast, or what's
I get really like clammy. My mind starts racing. I I feel dizzy. I can't I can't run. Like I can't make it's weird.
I wonder what
It's
that
like
is.
I think your brain just runs on sugar.
So if
And
you had sugar and like,
so when you eat sugar and I've got history of hypoglycemia in my family.
okay,
You release the metabolites for sugar, right?
hmm
Um and you metabolize it so much that your sugar tanks.
okay, it's not like a slow, steady
No,
metabolism.
like normal people can eat can eat sugar and their body just eats the sugar, you know?
Mhm.
You release insulin and it metabolizes the sugar. Um, with hypoglycemics, like you release a lot of um uh you release a lot and it just like tanks your blood sugar.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And
was always one that liked UCAN during races.
you can, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that still very popular in terms of fueling? Because I know, like in 2014, around when I was working in a running store, it's like you can. That's the way to go. You don't want to
Yeah.
depend on sugar and stuff.
I believe it was actually designed to help stabilize blood sugar in Down syndrome patients. That was initially what its use was, and then it hit the running market.
I didn't know that about it. That's
Yeah.
really interesting. I'm gonna have to research that more.
Yeah, it's really good. I liked it a lot. I won Lookout 50 on it. I won Stump Jump on it. I won Mount Mitchell Challenge on it.
When, like, for people who aren't familiar with these places, like Mount Mitchell, that's a high elevation mountain. What do you know off the top of your head what it is?
Well, I mean, if you're in the Rockies, it's not,
I
but
know,
like
but
for Asheville,
for here, it's
I think it's like 11,000 feet,
oh,
if I remember correctly. But it was in that race in particular was 8 inches of snow. And so they shut the trail down. We ran on the road, but it was an icy road. And so, but it was a pull all the way, straight up the mountain. And that's what I'm always best at is get a high heart rate and pin it and just go.
so next question. My sister actually signed up for Grayson Highlands. I don't remember which ultra distance. Have you done that one before? I think I
Yes.
was reading your blog and that's the one I clicked onto. And so I was like, I'm gonna ask them about that. What can
Yeah. It has mini horses.
oh yeah. Because I remember going there as a kid because I'm from Mountain City, so we'd go up there. But what is that race like?
Lots of out and backs, clover, kind of like a lot of clovers, which I don't do well at. Like I like a point to point or like big loops. Even you'll see a lot of my running. I'll do out and backs
Mhm.
because by the time I get out, I got to come back. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm doing a loop, multiple loops, I'm like too weak for that. I'll just like be done after like. But Grayson Highlands, so you start and you kind of you wind down around the mountain and do a bunch of clovers and out and backs and stuff. It's pretty technical. Lots of I remember lots of water shaped rocks. I like twisted my ankles a couple times.
So like it used to be riverbed, is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really technical, lots of clovers.
My general rule of thumb in trail running is if you can take 10 steps, take 20.
mm,
I think the more steps, the better.
like to protect yourself from falling, to conserve energy for speed, or all of them.
All of them. Do you want to move do you want to move 200 medium-sized rocks, or do you want to move like 400 tiny rocks?
Some people would probably say, they might say 200 depending on their mentality of their strength, but yeah, I mean, for efficiency.
We're runners, you know. You want to on trail, you always want to be able to accelerate, and the only way you can accelerate is if your foot's on the ground.
That's something a lot of people too may not immediately understand, that there's so much acceleration and deceleration involved in trail running, and technical trails for sure. And if you're somebody who really thrives on that kind of road running, find a flow state or something similar to that, you're changing gears so much on trails, and that kind of choppiness, and that that's a different kind of strength for sure.
Yeah, that's why I think that's why I always ran the 1500 in college, because I trained, the trails got me ready for that.
Yeah, like for 1500, how would you dissect that race in your mind, like in terms of laps?
First 200, you're trying to get position. It's always easier to fall back into position than to go up into position. Get in the pack, disappear until going into the second lap, there's going to be a little push. Try to hold on through the backstretch. Third lap, hold on for dear life, because it's going to start feeling like you're running in wet concrete. And then just kick. I was a big kicker. So,
That's
move
that
out to the second lane
acceleration.
and kick as fast as you can.
From trail running, that's that acceleration.
Yep.
Sure. I think about running 5K on track, and it's like I can picture Coach Dalton yelling at me, "Get in that front pack," because always separate into two packs, like in the first K or even quicker than that. And if you weren't in that first pack, you didn't have a prayer, you have to be in the first pack. And yeah, I enjoy track racing. It stresses me out to think about it. When I think about even running on a track right now, I get pretty nervous. I don't know. I want to normalize that, because I want to be good at speed work again. But yeah, that brings back memories.
No, I'm the same way. The track's sacred. I always liked track more than I didn't really like cross country.
Really? You would think that you would kind of gravitate more toward that, given
It just made me think about trails, I almost needed that acceleration to thrive. So in cross country, I wasn't one of those top dudes. I was just trying to survive a lot of the time. I was also really, really tired from all the extra running during the summer.
Say, yeah, you probably came in overcooked, and that's why cross was just kind of like a chore, and then by the time you got to track, you were revived again. I recently had a podcast with Nassim. You remember Nassim?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And we were talking about our tendency to kind of, well, for me at least, I get to cross country, I wouldn't feel fit because summer, I don't know, I would just do base training, and I didn't know about doing strides, at least trying to do some kind of speed in some form so that you don't come in slow. And then I would finally kind of come to life indoor, and then by track, outdoor, I'd be injured. So it's just a nightmare.
Yeah. I was always wrecked during cross country, but I loved running I loved hills. I liked hills. They were just never long enough.
I think about for cross country courses that we did. You well, let's see. We did Louisville together, right? And McAlpine, Charlotte, right? Those are the
Yeah.
two that stand out to me the most. Maybe Spartanburg too. Do you remember Spartanburg?
Mm-hmm.
Spartanburg is like grass fields forever. Louisville is pretty similar with the grassy fields, and then you've
We
got
went to Boone together.
oh yeah. That was
I always loved that meet. I was always peaking at that time. It was the first,
yeah, because that was like in August, so soon. But yeah, they
yeah.
had that pretty good hill. You probably like flew up it, then flew down it, and then you were home. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's a good
Yeah,
one.
I remember I just remember smoking the seam.
He's gonna listen to this and be like, okay, I'm gonna have to get back on the podcast and defend myself. You
No,
got
but that was like the only race that I did because after that I was just completely destroyed.
oh,
And then I remember it hit Coach Dalton when he brought everyone out to NOC because I was like, we were riding out to Solly in the van. And that Solly was my favorite place to run, but I had to ride my bicycle like 8 miles to get there.
wow.
From the cabin I lived in. So anyway, he's like, looked at me like, what? What are you doing? Like,
He
you're
saw what
riding your
you were
bike?
doing, yeah, and you rode your bike. Wow. No, I remember like I enjoyed those trails that we went to at camp. They were just I was like, this single track trail running, I've not done this before, but they were
It's all like uh muscle proprioception. Like your brain has to adapt to it. That's why I think people need to run technical trail if they're going to race trail, because it's really dangerous if your brain hasn't done that like problem solving a lot.
and also to like get your blood checked if you feel like anything is off because you have to be so on when you're on trails like that. Like if you're anemic, if your cognition seems off, like you could have magnesium deficiency, so many other kind of deficiencies. And yeah, just make sure, like, have you had anemia before? Like low iron?
No, no, I've always been kind of like I said, diet was never really my problem. It was
Hypoglycemia, like you mentioned, because
yeah, especially when I cycled, I had to be eating like every 30 minutes.
I mean, that's not unusual now. It's like for runners, if you're doing long run or if you're doing a workout or anything that's higher than just an easy effort, take some kind of fuel every 20 to 30 minutes.
Cyclists are different. I rode I when I had an IT band injury, I worked at a bike shop and I rode for them. Nothing crazy. Just like cat 5, cat 4. I was almost cat 3. Um which in cycling there's a cat system.
Mhm.
Um s- and uh those guys could ride forever without eating anything. It blew my mind.
Well, why do you
Uh
think it is? Were they like just staying in zone 2 most of the time, or were they really pushing?
yeah, they just stayed in fat burning like all the time.
You think about it, like your lactate threshold, you've got your zone 2, which is your like you said, fat burning, and then when you start work really hard, you switch from that fat burning to carbs. Do you feel like I mean, I feel like you're a pretty fit guy, but do you feel like you just thrive more on carbs in general?
Yeah. I mean, well, I think for me, it's really hard to transition from carbs to fat burning. Like, my body doesn't do it well. Um, I think when I did Lookout 50, I was in zone, I was in zone 3 for like up until 50K. And then I hit zone 4 in zone 5, like the last couple miles.
Do you think that was a heart rate drift, like from other factors, or were you just did the effort harder?
You're right. You're right. I drank Coke the last couple miles. And it just like, because I knew I was like, there was a guy named Cole Crosby and a guy who's actually I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's finished Barkley. Have you heard of Barkley?
Oh yeah.
Barkley marathons.
I'm from Tennessee. I know that one.
He's finished that like 2 or 3 times. But I beat both of them, but they were chasing me. They were trying to get me.
Have you ever thought about doing Barkley just like randomly? Why? I mean, it's so much navigation. I almost feel like you would do really well. Is it?
I like a course that is laid out and planned.
They're kind of just going through the woods. There's really not a path, right?
Correct. They call it bushwhacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole nother thing. There was some of that in adventure racing, and I hated it. We did that in the Army, and I hated it. You're just like so uncertain all the time that you're going the right direction. That it's a real psychological struggle.
That makes sense. So for listeners who are thinking, okay, I want to do an ultramarathon. I live not in a place that is anything like what I'll be running on. What should they do to kind of simulate that their race? Like, do they have a chance? Do you think? Can they use other tools? Can they do incline treadmill, or like what would that athlete do who doesn't live in the conditions that they'll be racing?
Stairmaster is amazing. Maxed out incline treadmill and just get used to doing it as long as you can.
Like what percent incline would you suggest?
Maxed out.
This as high as it will go.
Yep. Yeah, like I did with, how I said do a workout that's on a technical trail. Let the trail be your barrier. Let the treadmill be your barrier. So like I had a buddy, Scott Breeden, who was from Kentucky, and he was in med school when we raced. He beat me. I got what's the Huntsville race? I'm completely blanking on the name of the race. Anyway, anytime somebody beat me real bad, I would try to get to know them and figure out what they were doing training wise. That dude would do 3 hours maxed out on the treadmill.
Would you be walking or
running?
Okay. Wow.
I mean, he how he started was walking. He just worked his way up. But you never take that maxed out treadmill down. The treadmill's your barrier. Because that's the way trail is. You're presented with you can't adjust the trail.
So Sylvester, maxed out treadmill. Do you think of any kind of like plyometric type drills or any kind of
wall sits?
Wall sits.
Yeah, tons and tons of wall sits.
That would help with the downhill, pounding your quads for sure.
That's what always blows people's mind is it's not the uphills that hurt the worst, it's the downhills, especially in hundreds. I crewed my buddy for the Grand Slam. For 3 of the Grand Slam. Vermont 100, Western States, and another 100. Another 100 in Alabama. And sorry, all these race names are like old brain cells. Pinhoti 100. I crewed him for those 3 races, and in crewing, there's a certain amount you can pace people. And I did 70 miles of Western States, 70 miles of Vermont 100, and like 60 miles of Pinhoti I did twice. And it was always the downhills that would wreck them. They would start struggling real bad on the downhills.
Like knees going?
Knees and quads, yeah.
So I guess the best thing you can do is do the wall sits, but would you even say to somebody who is anticipating a lot of downhill in their race that they should make a plan right away to like walk the downhills, or what would you say?
Do what you feel, you know, have little win, in the military, we used to call it hunting the good stuff. You've got to create a game for yourself to where like, okay, I'm going to walk the next 2 downhills, but then I have to run the next one, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That way it's not like a question of, am I going to finish? It's what can I control right now?
That makes a lot of sense. Ultra, I'm a control freak, so I can definitely see that being appealing, is controlling what you can, because obviously ultra running presents so much uncontrollable variables. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. At Lookout 50, I had the race broken up into sections. Down the mountain, across the bottom of the mountain, you're at 50K. You go up the mountain. You cross the finish line. And you're halfway done, or you're more than halfway done with the race. But the next part of the race is the hardest. So the race just started.
Mhm.
I'm just on a tired start of a run.
Right.
And did the next section, and in the last 4 miles, okay, now whatever diet will get me to the finish line, I start it, and it won me the race. You probably read in my blog, Mount Mitchell, I just wanted to be in the race across the top. I just wanted to be in it. And I was in second, caught first, and just tried to hold on to him until the last 5K, and then just, smoked him because it was a road section.
Was
And
that
he had only been running, like, he was a good downhill runner. So I was like, okay, this guy's just going to smoke all the downhills. I'll just hang on. But then he's going to have nothing for the road section. So we hit I think I put 4 minutes on him in the last 5K.
Do you ever race with poles?
No.
See, that's surprising.
No.
A lot of people always ask me, should I race with poles, and are they going to help me, or are they just going to be in the way, cumbersome?
Try it. If you don't like it, don't. If you do it. I mean, trail running is all about what makes you most comfortable, because you're going to be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. When you were training, like in Franklin and in Chattanooga too, and you were on trails, did you? I mean, I guess you would know like the distance of whatever trail system that you were running, but in case you were on a trail that it didn't have marked distance, did you use Garmin, or did you just assume a certain minute mile? Like, how would you track mileage?
I didn't. I ran off time. On trail, mileage doesn't matter.
If you are, okay, I'm racing a 50K or whatever, and I need to be able to handle this amount of mileage on this kind of trail, I mean, does mileage come into play at that point, or what?
Time. So a lot of times I would do like a 2-hour run on a Saturday and an hour and a half on a Sunday. You don't ever want, like, a lot of where my path with a lot of my trail running buddies in Chattanooga kind of veered off was that they would go out for these 5 and 6 hour long runs. That's just making you tired. If you're training for 100, I can see it, but you need to be able to do 4 hours the next day, at least. Like, you want to tag shorter runs together, because that second run is going to feel more like how you'll feel in a race than the first run.
That makes sense. I think of like doubling, like it's always harder to put your shoes on. If you're like, I'm just going to bust out, longer run in the morning and be done with it, like you can build off of that momentum. But if you do like take some time and then come back to do your double in the afternoon, like it feels harder. You feel heavier. So I can definitely see that being beneficial.
Yeah. So sometimes on a Saturday, I would do a 2-hour road run in the morning. hour technical run in the afternoon with my tired legs, and then Sunday another 2-hour run. That's better to me than running all that at once, because there's less trash mileage in there.
Maximum mileage, we definitely, for people doing ultra distances, you'll see like we'll have maybe 4 to 6 weeks out, do a test 4 to 5 hour run, but we're not doing that every weekend, right? We're doing, like you said, we're stacking days, maybe do 13 to 15 miles on a Saturday, and then the next day on Sunday you're doing an hour to 90 minutes, and it's not constantly pounding out these 4 to 5 hour long runs, because that's just going to build up fatigue, and you're going to be wrecked for days, and you're going to feel like garbage until like probably mid to later that week. So it's better about just consistently doing, like, stringing days together and having consistency.
And your form won't suffer as much. I'm such a big form runner, when I first started running, it was always, coaches would always be like, whoa, I wasn't crazy fast, but I looked good when I ran. I think it was because of the turnover. And when I am super tired, you see on my resting pace is like 15-minute pace, because my short legs can't fake, a pace.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going easy, I'm doing what they call the airborne shuffle in the Army.
Uh-huh.
That's where you're running with like an 80-pound rucksack, and you're just like shuffling along. That's me when I'm resting, because it takes an equal amount of that power to get my, big legs moving.
That makes sense. Do you have any other advice for ultra athletes? It's been really enlightening and helpful, and I appreciate it.
I just harp on, get on technical trails. Make your brain get used to the trail, not the other way around.
Trail's not going to change.
Exactly.
It'll break you before you break it.
Exactly. Get on technical trails. You'll go through sections where people aren't ready and their pace falls apart, or they get hurt, or they get demoralized. If you can run through the technical section of a trail fast, people are going to start disappearing behind you.
That's a lot.
Don't freak out about pace. Just get out and run on technical trails.
Yeah, I think that's something people,
and watch Killian Jornet videos.
Oh yeah, amazing. But
yeah,
for people who say, well, I have a 13, 15 mile long run this weekend, and I want to do trail running, and they get so discouraged when they see the pace just drop off, and they're like, I was out there for like 4 hours, and it's, I guess some people are just like, they really want that pace to be high so they can post it on Strava and feel good about it and stuff. But you just got to put your pride aside and just get out there and do it, because you're going to have to if you're signed up for an ultra marathon and technical trails.
Yeah, you can't rest on, jets are not good passenger airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to be a dirt bike. You're not going to be able to ride around like a road bike. You're trying to be a dirt bike. You got to train like it,
That's great. Thank you, Daniel, so much for all this information. Appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point to discuss some other nuance of training, or maybe psychology, mindset, that kind of thing. But I certainly appreciate your time today.
Cool. Thanks for having me.